All right, and hello and welcome to Joe and Josh Talk The Walking Dead. I'm Joe.
I'm Josh, and today we have a very special guest joining us. He's been in many movies, many great TV shows, but you might know him as Eric from a little show called The Walking Dead. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jordan Woods-Robison. Jordan, how's it going, man?
It's
Thanks for being on.
absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. This isn't your first podcast, is it?
Yeah.
This is it.
Well, we did some show reviews. We reviewed like what was it, the last 3 or 4 episodes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you being on is like it's kind of taking us from like 0 to 60.
Keep up, guys. No, this
So
is
it's
wonderful.
pretty
Thank you so
amazing.
much for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And we're huge fans of the show. We've really enjoyed season 7, and so many
Yeah.
things have changed. There's so much going on, and you could tell that the show is building towards so many great arcs. So much is on the way, and I have to ask you. You kind of came into the show around the middle. Were you a fan of the show or the books before you actually got cast?
I have to be completely honest. I had not seen. I saw maybe 6 episodes of the show. But at the time, I had a brand new baby girl, and there was just it wasn't having that on a window in my room basically, and like having that going on. I just like I'm gonna put a pin in this, and I'm gonna come back to it. So that's what I did. But then my family is a huge fan, so when I was finally able to tell them that I'd gotten cast on the show, they just I could see their brains exploding. I know the show, and since being on it, I've gotten this really cool perspective where I started filming the end of 5 while I was still catching up on watching it, and so I was only watching season 2 while I was filming 5. So they were on the farm while I was in Alexandria. And so I
Oh
walked on
wow!
set and I had no idea what was going on. And some of the people that, I recognized like Maggie and Glenn and Rick and Daryl, like I knew some
Right.
faces, but there were other faces that I had absolutely no idea who they were. But that made that journey kind of really fun for me because as I got to watch the show and as I became a fan of the show, which I am a fan now, obviously, I got to do it from a different perspective because now I got to watch the show and be like, oh, hey, there's my friend Denai, and I'm like,
Right.
oh, cool. All right, this is gonna be a lot of fun. Well, I don't know what she's gonna do this episode, and so it made it this really cool journey for me personally to be able to, I'm not just watching the show as a fan anymore, but I'm also watching it as someone who has a personal relationship with a lot of these people as they're introduced and their new characters are introduced. So that was very cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. So, season 7
Yeah.
has been a big turning point, for the show. Many new characters have been brought in, and the dynamic of the series is changing. What have things been like on the set?
Man, okay. So the first episode we saw me in season 7 was 704, and that's when Negan comes into Alexandria, and Daryl is still a captive, and Rick is there. And I got to tell you, so just to let you know that in other seasons and in other episodes, being on set is actually a lot of fun. Like there's a lot of people are coming from like a comedy background, or just the subject nature of the show is so intense that people like to kind of drop that if they can between takes and kind of joke around or help each other feel a little more comfortable. If someone needs their space for a particularly rough scene, then people let them have their space, but for the most part people just kind of, if we're not fighting, then we kind of go back to just being people for a little while in order to preserve our sanity. But
Right.
when I walked onto set for 704 and when I spent the day there, it was really intense. It there wasn't that break. There was not ever a break in that tension of, my God, the world as we know it is shifting, and the control is shifting, and it's gotten better as the filming is going on because I think people are starting to find ways of separating their personal selves from that storyline, but Ross, actually, I talked to Ross Marquand, who plays Aaron, and he's like, yeah, it's taut. It's just taut, and I thought that was a great way of saying it. Like, it was just nothing could relax because everything was just stretched to its limit. So it made for a different filming dynamic, but in the end, you definitely see that in the episodes of all of that inner turmoil and not knowing what's going to happen. And from everyone I've talked to that are fans, everyone's like, am I going to have to feel this for the whole season? It comes through. Everyone's like, I don't feel good right now. I don't feel good about the show. I don't feel good about my life. I don't feel good about these characters. Like, it's all, it's so hard to watch. I'm like, that's what everyone's feeling, So, it's cool that us suffering on set is at least allowing others to suffer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been a very tense few episodes. What with the saviors coming into the show,
yep.
and really what we've seen happen in Alexandria.
Yeah.
And in the episode Service, we really got to see what Negan is all about. The saviors just coming into Alexandria and plundering everybody. And your character had the line in that episode that I think everybody was asking, feeling that tension, which was to Rick, how are we going to get out of this? Because we've seen the characters, they fought the governor, and then they fought the wolves and all these things. They had all these miraculous escapes. But now the big question is, how are they going to get out of this? And given that your character was in Alexandria before Rick came in and before all this happened, do you think Eric still trusts Rick's leadership, or do you think he's kind of thinking the way Spencer was? Maybe this is Rick's fault.
I think that's a great question. And what I'll say that Ross and I have done a little backstory for ourselves that we were, Eric and Aaron were the proteges of Deanna in Alexandria, and that she was a great leader, and that she had taken us under her wing. We were not only the scouts that were going out to potentially recruit new groups to come into Alexandria, but that in order to do that, we also had to be very diplomatic in how we approach them and how we talk to them and how we analyze them and decide whether or not to bring them in. And so there is definitely a very large dose of that blame when Eric gets to ask that question of Rick, because if Rick had more of a plan when he went out, or if he had looked at all of the options before he went out, or if he hadn't just acted impulsively, and maybe if he had taken the rest of the group into consideration, they might not have walked into this trap. They might not have lost two people, and I might not have nearly lost my loved one.
Right.
And so there's definitely I showed up on set, and this was the first line that I had of the season. This was the first moment that we were going to see Eric on camera. And so I went up to the writer and I was like, look, I want to be pissed off at this guy. I want to blame this guy. I want to and he's like, yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think, people are trying to, Rick is trying to refine himself and refine the ways that he leads the community. And I think it's totally okay for you to be that voice that stands up and says, even if we do what they say, this still isn't a long-term solution. This still isn't you leading us. So when are you going to lead us again? What do we do? And so that's what came out of that. And I thought it was a great opportunity for my character. And I think we're going to see more of that in season 7, that wrestling of, do we fight or do we hide, and are we pacifists or are we killers? And I think that's going to come up a lot more in the Eric and Aaron storyline.
Cool.
Awesome. So, a lot of people may not know, but you are a person of multiple talents. What sort of projects do you have going on other than The Walking Dead?
I have a lot going on. So let's see. I am a Blue Man in Blue Man Group in Orlando. I've been doing that for 10 years. I started in New York, and where I went to school, and been doing that for a while. And that's my full-time job. I steal away to work on film and TV stuff. But if I'm not working on other projects, I am full-time in Orlando doing Blue Man Group, and it's awesome. It's such a fun show. Have you guys seen it?
I haven't got to see
Okay.
it.
Okay.
I haven't got to.
All right.
But
well,
I'm going to.
one out of two ain't bad. Yeah. But that means I'm a musician as well, because the show uses music as a way of communicating. And I'm a musician, so I grew up playing bluegrass fiddle in Tennessee, and now I play lots of stringed instruments: mandolin, guitar, bass. I write a lot of my own music, and I just released an album, my first full-length, completely original album, in October of this year, and it's called Anthem, and it's how many songs? 12 songs? No, it's more than that. You would think I would know. Uh, but it's awesome. It's a labor of love. It's a passion project. And it was completely crowdfunded by my fans and by people that are fans of The Walking Dead and who want to help support anyone associated with the show. And so that's just been a great experience. And but then I'm also doing a handful of shows here and there. I'm on a new show called Good Behavior. I shot the first episode of that, and I'm on the 5th season of Nashville. I do a couple episodes in Nashville. And I got a new movie coming out called Solace with Anthony Hopkins and Colin Farrell. I don't think it's going to hit many theaters. I think it's a limited release, but I do think it's also going to be available for streaming either on demand or Netflix or something actually in 2 days. So December 16th, probably when this is recording. Hey guys, go out and check out Solace.
Right.
Plug.
Yeah. Hey, here I am on TV. That's it.
Perfect placement. All right, man. Well, we want to thank you again. Thank you not only for your work in The Walking Dead. We're really loving this season, but thank you so much for taking the time out to talk with us. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And great. Best of luck with the new podcast. And I can't wait to see where you guys go. It's going to be awesome.
All right, thanks, man.
Okay. Bye.